Hi, it's your $2 Tuesday movie critic here, and I am reviewing the movie Addicted. Now, this just recently came out. It stars Sharon Liu, Boris Cujo, William Levy, Tasha Smith, and Tyson Beckford. And it is a really good movie. It's considered a drama, and I can see that. It's definitely a drama. It talks Addicted kind of like deals with Sharon Liu's character, who is Zoe, and Zoe's married to Boris Kojo's character, who is Jason. And seemingly from the surface, they have this perfect life. They have two kids, a boy and a girl. Zoe's mom lives at home with them, and she just fits in with the rest of the family, and they seem very, very happy. Both Zoe and Jason have prosperous careers. Jason is an architect, and Zoe owns an art gallery. So a professional and their family life are going well as the movie starts. And you wonder, because they are this really loving couple, and you wonder what could possibly be the problem. So as it goes forward, Zoe, you see, like I said before, she's an art gallery owner, and she's been very prosperous at it thus far. And then all of a sudden things start to change. Now, that's one of the things that really bugs me about this movie. I'll just say that first and foremost, is because they don't really say what changes in Zoe's life to make her start acting out this addictive nature that begins to manifest. When she meets Quentin for the first time, she doesn't even know he's the artist. So it's not him that starts off the addictive nature. So I really don't know what it is. And one of the things I do have to mention, though, let me go back, is the movie Addicted is based off the novel by Zane of the same name. Now, I did speak to some people, because I didn't read the novel for myself, but I feel like I need to, that have read. I have spoken to people that have read the novel, and they state that the novel goes into more detail what's going on with Zoe and why she has this addiction and what it all stems from, and how it begins to manifest itself. Somehow or another, Zoe becomes addicted to sex. So she becomes a sex addict. And supposedly she always was a sex addict, but something happened to manifest itself, or something happened so that the sex addiction becomes active within her. She's always had it, but the urges become greater and greater until, she has this affair with another man, Quentin, the artist. Now, this is not given away from the movie. We see this all in the previews. And, from the previews, it looks like she's maybe addicted to the affair, or addicted to Quentin, which in a case may be. But for, when you delve into the movies, you see that she's talking about sex addiction. Now, this is another thing that bothers me about this movie. Because, when I watched it, I didn't see a woman that was addicted. And I'm not saying that I know what all addicts look like or anything like that, because I don't. And I don't know what, sex addiction is. And when I say she doesn't look like, I'm not talking about her outer appearance. I'm talking about her as the character of Zoe, the person that's supposed to have the sex addiction. Being a person that has not read the book and doesn't have that background, all I see is a person that really likes sex. First, she likes, just being with this man, and they seem to have a very intimate relationship, even though, same thing with her husband. She seems to still really love her husband and want to have an intimate relationship with him. But because she has a greater desire, so to speak, she starts a relationship, or they both start a relationship together, and it's got this affair of Zoe and Quentin. But it honestly does not seem like any type of addiction. An addiction is something where you need it all the time, at every moment. That's what you're thinking of. And when you're not thinking of it, you're trying to find a way to get it. Now, supposedly, Quentin is satisfying the extra urges that Zoe has. I'm guessing that's why she's only with him. But there seems to be more to it. There seems to be intimacy. From my understanding, when all addicts are trying to do is fill that void. And she talks about that in the movie, but it doesn't seem like she's filling a void. It seems like she's actually falling for this guy, while at the same time still being in love with her husband and wanting to stay in that relationship. It just doesn't really ring true for me. I don't know if it does for anybody else, but it didn't. I did appreciate the sex scenes. I have to say, they were very, and a lot of women will probably appreciate this too. Yeah, most of the times when there's sex scenes in a movie of this type, if there is any nudity, it's normally the woman. For the most part, it was the men. I think there was only one point where, Sharon Lill, she showed her chest, her breast. But, I not necessarily showed it, but her breasts were seen in the movie. But for the most part, it was the guys that were nude. And no, there was no full frontal, but you did see a lot of buttocks. So, a very nice buttocks. So, I did appreciate that, I have to say. And the scenes themselves, the erotic scenes, were very, very erotic. And, you can believe that these people really felt sensual desire for each other on all parts. They had desire for each other. Now, when Zoe gets into another relationship, and I don't want to go too far into that, you can't see where it's more of a raw need and a raw desire and a need being felt, where there's not a lot of intimacy. But I wonder if it was not because of something that happened, and it was not so much about the addiction, but something else, And you'd have to watch the movie to know what I mean by that. Initially, she didn't. Quentin, she didn't seek him out. He actually pursued her, and she gave in to her desires. And everything that happened after that, I think that was definitely her becoming more dominant in getting her desires met. But it still did not ring true for me as sex addiction. It seemed more like a woman just like to have sex, and it's just because the scenes where she chose the person, she chose the atmosphere she was in, and then of course things get out of hand like they normally do when a person has an affair, and things start going awry for her. But even in the midst of that, and I guess that's where they try to kind of make you see, hey, this is really a sex addiction. Instead of her trying to make things right or better, she leans on her addiction. And I think Tasha Smith also did a really good job as the psychiatrist that's trying to help Zoe out. I was just waiting for a moment when she would have some kind of crazy outburst or say something ridiculous, and it didn't happen, and I was very happy about that. She was really a very balanced character in this movie as Dr. Marcella Spencer. I will give this movie like an A for effort. I think if they had just stuck with infidelity in a marriage, they would have gotten a lot better, but because they were basing this off Zane's novel, which was about sex addiction, then they had to go there. I just think it seemed like more of a afterthought, especially the reason why she kind of thought back, as to why this all began. And it just seemed like this happened, and they keep going. The actors did a great job with their acting. I was kind of disappointed with Sharon Lill in the beginning of the movie, because it just seemed like she was a bit, I don't know, trying to act a certain way, but she wasn't pulling it off, But as the movie progressed, I think she got better. And I was happy to see that. So, but the rest of the characters, excellent job all the way around. I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed that William Levy had more of a acting range in this movie too. I mean, he did a lot of different stuff in here, and it wasn't just showing his backside. So I appreciated seeing that too. I had never seen him in such a range before. So, and he did a really, really great job. This is definitely something you want to take your kids to go see at all. Actually, it was more sex scenes than there was cursing. As the movie progresses, though, especially towards the end, there is just like, woo, cursing all over the place. But again, it's in context, so I can't be mad at them for that. The two movies that I wanted to compare to Addicted were two movies that did get it right, because they either focused on addiction in a marriage or they focused on infidelity in the marriage, but not the two. Not saying that it can't be done. I haven't seen a movie where it's done, and I'm sure it could be done, but I think it could have been done a lot better. So first I want to talk about the movie When a Man Loves a Woman. This stars Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan, and I love this picture of them in the front. Yes, this is VHS. This movie came out in 1994. This movie is talking about how the addiction of alcohol has a negative effect on the marriage, on the person that's struggling with the addiction, and also on the children. I think this movie does a beautiful job of kind of going through or showing how one family can go through all of this together and, you know, deal with it as best they can. Yeah, Meg Ryan, who is Alice Green, and Andy Garcia, who is Michael Green. And you have Ellen Burstyn, who makes a brief appearance. She's not there very long. She's Emily, the mom of Alice. And then Tina Margarino, Jess, who is the eldest daughter, who does a wonderful job as the eldest daughter. She's like a little adult walking around. She's just so smart in her facial expressions and, you know, her acting. For such a little bitty girl, she does such a beautiful job, you know, just wonderful. And then there's Mae Whitman, who plays the baby girl, Casey, and she also does a really good job too. And then there's Lauren Tom, who plays Amy, and I have to say I did not like her character at all. But that's neither here nor there. Amy is like the nanny, and she's more like Alice's nanny because, you know, she always listens to whatever Alice has to say. She's always there for Alice. Even when Alice is treating her like crapola, she's there for Alice. But, you know, Andy Garcia's character of Michael, who is, you know, also, you know, in the family too, she treats like crap. He can be nice to her, she treats him like crap. If she doesn't have to talk to him, she won't. If she has to talk to him, she does it with disdain. Amy is just really, I don't know. I thought they were going to show why she did that. Maybe she had some type of girl crush on Alice or something. I don't know. But they never show why. They just showed she did it. And, you know, I kind of think that they took away from the movie something that they could have had somewhere else by focusing those scenes on Alice. I think they should have probably went somewhere else. Because this movie is over 2 hours long. I think they could have at least cut out those scenes or focus somewhere else, because Alice's thing, since they weren't going to show where it was coming from or anything like that, you know, I didn't see the point of that. Now, even though Ellen Burstyn's character of Alice's mom is only shown like for a brief time, her presence is known throughout the movie because Alice talks about her and how she plays a part in her alcoholism, you know. But again, it's this thing where Alice has to deal with what's going on with her. I think it's a very honest portrayal, even though it doesn't get, like with the movie Addicted, they don't really get into the ugliness. They do get pretty ugly now and When a Man Loves a Woman, but, you know, they only show maybe 1 or 2 scenes where she was actually drinking. And the rest of it, she was just, you know, being drunk. The thing, too, that shows in both movies, When a Man Loves a Woman and Addicted, is the marriage, where the man is trying to fix what's going on, and if it doesn't make sense to him, then he's like, okay, I don't really want to talk about it. I think that the marriage between, or the character of Boris Cujo's character, Jason, does a better job of that, where he's like, You know, as long as I will help you with everything that I can help you with, as long as you don't bring up something that I don't want to talk about. Then it's like, what? But, and then again, but with, on the opposite end, you have Andy Garcia's character of Michael Green in When a Man Loves a Woman, who is, whatever you want, I will do. I will do whatever I have to do to fix what's going on. Oh, you want to do this? Okay, we'll do this. Oh, and he is so pliable in it because he's always trying to fix the situation. And I understand where he's coming from that, because she's pretty much absent in their marriage to a certain degree because she's drinking. From the standpoint of When a Man Loves a Woman, they actually go to through the different phases of, you know, first getting out of denial and seeing that there is a problem, that she is addicted to alcohol, and then what they need to do to help her. And the thing is that they do, and that's why I say they do a beautiful job of it. They actually take you through the phases of what happens when they try and fix it, when they think it's fixed, and what they do after that, and how all of this is affecting each person in that family, how it's affecting her as an alcoholic, how it's affecting him as the spouse of an alcoholic, how it's affecting the kids who know what's going on but don't know enough because they know it from a young person's standpoint of view. And I just think it's how they do it is so beautiful, and I think that that's what was missing from Addicted too. I want to refer to another movie as far as just dealing with infidelity, and that movie is Unfaithful, which came out in 2002. That stars Diane Lane as Connie Summer, Richard Gere as Ed Summer, Olivier Martinez as Paul Martel, and Chad Lowe as Bill Stone. Now, this movie, again, the same as with Addicted, there are a lot of very sensual, erotica type scenes, and the woman they're both attracted to very beautiful men, very attractive men, and you know, it was on both parts. The men kind of like pursue the women, but it is the woman that makes the decision to be a part of this affair, because there is a point where they can say no and walk away and it's over, but they choose to take a walk on the wild side, so to speak. And that's both the characters of Zoe in Addicted and Connie in the movie Unfaithful. Now, of course, Unfaithful only deals with infidelity and how the woman chooses. And again, the same way as in Addicted, these women are both in ideal marriages from the surface. You have a very loving husband. They have a son as well. They only have one son in this movie, and you know, and she doesn't have a career, so to speak, but she works for different charities and stuff like that. So she does that type of charity work. And so she does fulfilling things that she likes to do. And I think it was well done because you get to see it from the woman's standpoint. What if the woman was the one that decided to have an affair, and it had nothing to do with anything that was wrong in her marriage? It was just something that awakened something within her. Because that's pretty much what happens. I mean, her husband never stops being loving to her. Her kid loves her. They have a very fulfilling marriage, a very fulfilling life. And to the point where when things start to change, the husband recognizes it. And I think this is another point in the movie Addicted, where the husband doesn't recognize that anything is wrong. It is the wife that comes to him and says, hey, there's something wrong. I need help. And even in the marriage of When a Man Loves a Woman, these two people, you know, you have the one that he believes that he's helping her by enabling her, so to speak, not to giving her alcohol, but by picking up the pieces whenever she falls apart. And even when she says, I need to go somewhere and get to, or he decides, hey, I can't do this anymore, you need more help than I can give you, and he still wants to play that part, but she no longer wants him to play that part once she decides, okay, I'm strong enough to be myself without the alcohol. And it's touching how each one of the movies comes together and shows different sides of marriages and things. And for the most part, they all three look like they were in very good marriages. You believe that these couples were each married to each other. It's just the way that the story unravels that kind of messes things up. I would suggest each one of these movies. If you haven't seen them, they're beautiful. There's only one nudity scene in When a Man Loves a Woman, and that scene is, not sexual at all. It's actually quite disturbing. So, but there is sensuality in the movie. There is sensuality between the characters of Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan. But it doesn't get to the same level that's in Addicted or Unfaithful. Yeah, it doesn't get to that degree. So, all the movies are rated R. If you like, When a Man Loves a Woman or are Unfaithful, especially if you liked Unfaithful, you will definitely like Addicted. That's my recommendation. If you have movies that think better compared to Addicted, let me know. And I will see you next time.